Last time on the Wordy Pair.
They should have they should have had Legato Blue Summers come running up right after him, right after Knives jumps into the path of the beam. Blue Summers jumps in after him and says, "Wait for me," and gets taken out with him.
In Trigun Stampede, Vash doesn't actually try to prevent anyone's deaths anymore.
But he's Vash.
Yeah, I know.
That is exactly what Vash does.
The Bad Lads take the Sand Steamer, but Brilliance Dynamite Neon does not appear. It's just the Bad Lad gang people. And they run in, they don't even do anything.
So they're just like generic foot soldiers without the shredder.
And then Vash hits a couple of them and then they run off.
And now, the conclusion of our look at Trigun Stampede.
So then, after we've just had this very short dealing with the Nebraska family, suddenly the Gung Ho Guns show up, and Knives shows up, and they steal the 2 plants of Genera Rock, and then Knives turns into a tornado of knives and chops up all the people in Genera Rock.
Except for, obviously, the main characters that we've been introduced to.
Oh no, they get away. Well, I mean, he doesn't chop them up to death, but like, okay, so in the original series, there's like 3 episodes in a row that are important because they show Vash saving people in the face of insane odds. He gets into this city. He stops there to eat. There's a little kid who's complaining to his mother that he wants a different toy gun. He wants a better toy gun. And a bunch of bandits burst into this bar, into this cafe, and they all try to shoot Vash. And Vash beats them. And then there's a whole series of things that happens in the original series right after this, but the key point is that they're about to reload their guns and try to shoot Vash a second time after absolutely unloading everything they had on him once and missing every shot. And him, getting the upper hand on them in a variety of ways. They're about to reload and start shooting at him again. And Vash takes this kid's little toy gun that shoots little plungers, little cute little rubber plungers with sticks on them, and he shoots all of these bandits once or twice each in the head with these little plungers that stick on their faces. And this so terrifies these bandits that they drop all their guns. They drop all their clothes except for their undergarments, and they just walk away in disgrace. Like, we'll give you everything we have, just don't harm us. And Vash hands this gun, this little blue plastic gun, back to the kid and says, "Thanks, kid, this really saved me." And the kid looks at this gun and he says, "Holy crap, my little stupid toy gun that I thought was so bad was able to do that." And this kid's name is Tanis. And for the next episode and a half or 2 episodes or so, he's going to be kind of in the background, but he'll be someone who's watching Vash do his thing. Because what happens next is that the town discovers that he is Vash the Stampede. And so now the whole town is after him. Everybody in the town is shooting at Vash, and they're not hitting him. He's just running away and not shooting back. And, they're destroying their own town in an effort to get him. When the Nebraska family tries to kill a bunch of people in that town in an effort to get Vash to basically, die ignominiously, trying to save them, the last thing that Vash does is, again, he pulls that little blue plastic gun out of Tanis' hands and shoots the Nebraska father in the head with these cute little plungers. And that's what ends that confrontation. Father Nebraska gives up. He's like, I give up. And then, when Vash is about to leave on the sand steamer, he's on the sand steamer, the sand steamer's leaving, one of the people that goes out to say goodbye to him is little Tanis. He's running out there, he's got his little blue gun with him, and he's like, "Vash, I can't believe you're leaving without saying goodbye." And Vash says, he yells from the top of the steamer, "Tanis, be good to your mom and be good yourself. Maybe I'll see you again sometime." In Stampede,
There's a
Vash
relative
never,
story.
Vash never talks to Taunus. Taunus is just a character that is a kid that's running around in Geneor Rock, which is the wrong city. And then when Knives does his little knife tornado as he escapes with the plants, Taunus' arm gets chopped off. Graphically.
Okay. Pretty unceremonious, I guess.
And because of that, everyone who's still alive, maimed but alive, in Geneora Rock, hates Vash.
Including Taunus?
Including Taunus.
The people that made this show deserve to... Like, if I was in a room with the people that made this show, I would just keep slapping them until they walked away. I would just keep slapping them right across the face and like, hey, stop it. Wait, what are you doing? And just back them to the door, and then they leave, and then I would go on to the next person. And this would continue until the room was void of all of these unscrupulous characters.
You want me to ruin Wolfwood some more for you?
Yeah, ruin Wolfwood some more for me. Why not? Why not make me go full rage?
What was one of the great things about Wolfwood in the original series? It was that he was nimble and moved around and was so good at dodging around and not being where people expected him to be.
And could lift 20 tons of steel.
What?
Wait, no, he couldn't do that. Go on.
No, that was in Stampede. In the original series, he was good because even though he got shot at a lot, he was very good at not being where they thought he was going to be. And so he very rarely actually took physical damage. And it was one of the points of his character that he was a really skilled gunman. Like he really knew what he was doing. He was accurate. He was good at, avoiding things and using cover. And he was clever and tricky and good at improvising. All those things. Wolfwood in the original is a fantastic character. Now, I told you already that in Stampede they turned Wolfwood into a drugged-up super soldier.
Drugged-up 10-year-old.
Drugged-up 12-year-old super soldier, sure. Correct. Something like that. What the super soldier serum does to him is it gives him Wolverine healing. All he has to do is drink a magic potion, of which he has many of, and he just heals up for, however long it takes. Now, they probably thought it looked cool, because he has those, glass ampules full of this blue magic liquid.
Yeah.
And he uses them in a way that doesn't make any sense. Because what he does is he takes his teeth, and he grabs the top of the ampule, and he breaks the top of the ampule off with his teeth. Now, you don't do that in real life with those glass ampules. Because those top things are not
until
particularly...
you've taken the serum.
Well,
which means that you don't do it.
Sure. But, the tops of those things are fragile by design, and so if you take it off with your teeth, you're very likely going to be getting a mouthful of broken glass. You break them off with, a gloved hand, carefully, or a pair of pliers. So, yeah, no, he's always, throughout the whole series, whenever he gets into trouble, all he has to do is reach into his jacket, pull out one of these blue magic potion ampules, bite the top off, and drink it, and all of his wounds heal. Which means that he's never in any danger throughout any point on the entire series. Which means that his abilities are no longer, even less impressive now than they were a minute ago. Because he gets shot all the time. He doesn't even care. He just takes it and then takes another ampule.
Nicholas D. Bullet Sponge.
Yeah, that's perfect, actually, yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get how you can look at the show and be like, this show is amazing. I would like to do something with this. And then you get that opportunity and you're like, all right, so everything I love about this show, all of these characters, all of these things they can do, all of the storylines, all of the arcs that happen in the story. I don't need any of that fluff. We'll just fill that in as we go along. And let's just spend $500,000 on over animating it, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
How does that sound, guys? Anyone? Any takers?
Yeah.
They got a group of people together to do that. A group of people got together to create that hot garbage based off of a beloved franchise. And it keeps happening over and over and over again. And I just want to know, when does the money run out? Because people can't possibly continue to be giving these people money over and over, and it has to run out. There is a finite supply of productive-related capacity vis-a-vis the exchange of paper and digital currency.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you one more thing that's great and fun in Trigun Stampede.
When you say great and fun, do you have an ulterior meaning?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
So remember how I said earlier that, like, one of the great points at the very end of the original series is that, like, Knives made these two guns, and, you know, they're practically meaningless if they're not used against each other. Great little point. You know, just, like, very, you know, wrapping it up in a nice little bow. In Stampede, what happens instead, I already mentioned that Vash's gun is just some chump's gun that he dropped when Knives or somebody killed him.
Yeah.
But it's worse than that. Because Knives throws that gun to Vash and says, "This gun is very appropriate for you, the kind of person who likes to kill people at a distance with just a twitch of your finger." Which, as far as I can tell, is something Vash has never done, even in Stampede. And also makes very little sense when Knives' ability creates a gigantic 500-foot-long knife serpent that he uses to very easily kill people from quite long distances.
Is he? I mean, he is just stupid.
So we have that. Instead of two guns that are only meaningful when used against each other, we have guns versus knives.
But the knives are basically guns.
But the knives are guns. And the gun hasn't ever been used in the way that the knife guy is talking about the gun.
Everything in this show is so unceremonious, it's ridiculous. Unceremonious deaths, unceremonious receipt of classic or the original utensils, unceremonious character motivations. Good God, the show should just be called Trigun Ceremonious.
Yeah, that would be closer to correct.
Yeah, I mean, where's the Stampede in this show? Is there an actual Stampede? Probably not.
Well, Vash is named the Stampede. There's no actual Stampede. So, one other thing that I thought was really great that they added to Stampede was the weird religious stuff, where there was human sacrifices in order to make the wind blow again.
What, like, really? Or just they believed that? Because I don't know with this show. This show's often in all sorts of weird places.
I think it's just that they believe that, yes.
Ah, my brother Vash, he who loves killing people.
I think it was a cover for an early part of the Drug Super Soldier program. I think that's what we're supposed to learn from the series.
But then why did they have the sacrifices?
Well, they needed the kids. So there's this city that has a giant windmill, which, by the way, the city with the giant windmill in the original series was Genera Rock. So they just brought that out.
But they just didn't care about anything, did they?
No, they really didn't. And then the city is abandoned because there hasn't been wind there for a long time, ? And instead of using a plant, they used a giant windmill. Because in the original series, there were plenty of towns that didn't have plants and still got by with, like, wells and stuff like that. But in Trigun Stampede, you can't survive unless you have a plant or a giant windmill. Because people didn't exist before electricity.
Yeah, obviously.
So they were sacrificing children for religious reasons in order to make the wind continue to blow. And then what actually happened to the sacrificed children is that they were victims of the early part of the Super Soldier program. And then the wind stopped and the people continued sacrificing children until the last child sacrifice was the kid who ends up turning into Monev the Gale.
Oh. Okay, so at least they did, I mean, how did they butcher Monev the Gale?
And then, Monev the Gale... So Monev the Gale is not just some guy who's been training for 20 years to take on Vash the Stampede, like in the original series. He's this kid that Vash accidentally brought back for the purposes of human sacrifice to this town. The kid ran away from the town because he heard he was going to be the next sacrifice. Vash found him wandering the desert. Vash took him back to the town because the kid pointed Vash in the direction of the town and said, "That's where I came from," and didn't bother to talk about the human sacrifice part.
So it's the stupid kid's fault.
Certainly, it certainly looks that way.
Like,
Because then the kid gets turned into Monev the Gale. And he goes on this crazy rampage in this empty... Okay. One of the points of the original series about Monev the Gale was that he was the first person who actually really killed a bunch of innocent people right in front of Vash.
Yeah.
Like, Nebraska almost did, but Vash stopped him.
Yeah, Monev the Gale was like the turning point of the show.
Yeah. And Brilliant Dynamite's Neons and the Bad Lad gang, they killed some people, but those people that they killed were people that they were in conflict with. Like, it was either someone who's defending the sand steamer, or it's someone who won't drive the sand steamer off the canyon like Neon wants. So there's actual conflict there, where, like, violence is maybe not the correct response, but is at least a reasonable one. Monev the Gale in Stampede attacks Vash in this big empty city that's been abandoned after their windmill didn't blow anymore. And then he's chasing Vash around, and just as Vash is starting to get through to him and have him remember that Vash was the person who helped him out when he was in the desert, which doesn't make sense because Vash didn't actually help him in the desert. He just brought him back and said, and basically he was a sick kid. And so they were like, well, you'll be a sacrifice, but you're sick anyway, and you're going to die anyway, so maybe it's okay for you to be a sacrifice. That was the justification they were using. And Vash says, I'm going to go and I'm going to find medicine for you, because somehow the kid told Vash about the I'm sick and dying part, but not the I'm running away because they're going to sacrifice me because I'm sick and dying part.
Yeah, you would think that would be your opener.
Vash F's off and goes looking for medicine for God knows how long. And he comes back, and they're like, oh yeah, he died, so we don't need the medicine anymore. And he didn't actually die, they just turned him into Monev the Gale. So anyway, Vash is realizing all this stuff. He has Monev the Gale chasing him around the city. He finally is starting to get through to Monev the Gale and is like, I brought the medicine. I brought you back. You didn't tell me that there was this bad thing going on. I didn't know. I thought you were just lost in the desert. I can still help you now. I don't want to hurt you. And, he's just barely starting to get through to Monev the Gale, to the point where the weird skull lighting that's projected on the inside of Monev's helmet starts to go away for no clear reason, and you actually see a human face in there finally. And then, so in the original series, the end of the fight with Monev the Gale is very important for Vash, because it shows a couple of things. Number one, that Vash can be made very angry. And when he is angry, he is very dangerous and scary. Number two, that Vash will actually consider killing you if you kill a bunch of innocents for no reason. Vash is a hair's breadth away from killing Monev the Gale when memories of Rem flood back to him, and her saying, you don't have a right to take his life. He's like, all right, I'll give you one more chance. And he walks away, and Monev gets up and he says, you're way too trusting. I could shoot you in the back right now. And Vash says, my finger's still on the trigger. And he sees that Vash's mechanical arm, that nobody knew about until then, and is a sign that he's been through some serious shit, is pointed around Vash's back, at his waist, at Monev the Gale's head, without Vash looking. And that's how that confrontation ends.
Monev the Gale
it's a turning point because it shows, number one, what will make Vash mad and what will get to him. It shows what his convictions are. It shows what kind of stuff you need to do in order to get this kind of reaction out of him. It shows the strength of the character of Monev the Gale as someone ruthless and dangerous and monstrous. It shows Vash's desire to forgive people, but also to still have his finger on the trigger, so to speak, to always have eyes in the back of his head, to really be ahead of everybody else. Like, up until that point, we've gotten the impression that the way that Vash has gotten by without people dying is by warning them somehow beforehand. In the first episode, there's the danger to the town that they're above with the explosives that Loose Ruth has. And Vash goes down, he evacuates the city, he comes back up and he beats the bandits. And there's an explosion, and it knocks out a chunk of the city, but everybody's okay because they got the evacuation order from Vash. In the episode with Monev the Gale, Vash doesn't have that time to prepare. Monev the Gale attacks him in a jail cell. And so he dashes out through some very, very, very well-organized skill
Maneuvers.
on Vash's part. Maneuvers, yeah. And he's running while frantically yelling at everyone, "Everybody get down. Get out of buildings or get under a table," kind of thing. Run away from the town, leave the path clear in front of and behind me, stay low to the ground. There's he yells at a group of unsavory individuals, and he's like, "Get down," and they're like, "Yeah, what are you gonna do? Shoot at us?" He's like, "I said get down." He shoots above their head, which encourages them to throw themselves to the ground right before Monev the Gale blasts right where they were a second ago. And then finally, as Vash is running out of the city, trying to get to a place where he can fight Monev the Gale without endangering innocents, Monev the Gale takes aim right through a bunch of buildings where the people haven't gotten out yet. They're still running around, they're cowering there, and without any care as to whether he actually hits Vash or not, he shoots through an entire city block worth of buildings, killing everyone between him and Vash. I mean...
And he does it purposefully, too.
Yeah, and he does it purposefully. Whereas there hasn't been a lot of that so far in the series. And it makes Vash literally angry as the devil.
Oh, yeah, he goes into a blood rage.
Yeah, he goes into a blood rage, and he is a hair's breadth from killing Monev the Gale. Now, this is one of the most important confrontations in the whole series, because it shows... because of what it does. I've already explained all that.
Yeah. And it's...
How does the confrontation with Monev the Gale end in Stampede?
In Vash... In the original Trigun... It does also end. This is also important. It ends with Monev the Gale absolutely terrified of Vash the Stampede.
Oh yeah.
Like genuinely, like in fear of his life and in fear of ever having to encounter him again.
Yeah. Oh, and it's worth noting that the next thing that happens is that Vash find that one of the next things that happens, which is orchestrated by by Legato Blue Summers, is he finds Monev the Gale's corpse nailed to a wall to show him that even if he has mercy on these people that are after his head, the people that are telling the people who are after his head to go after him are going to kill him anyway. It's brilliant. I mean, it's amazing.
Yep, very mafioso.
Now, let's go to Trigun Stampede.
Yeah. How does
the confrontation with Monev the Gale end in Trigun Stampede? Care to have a guess?
I don't know. Do they hug it out?
No.
No, I just lay it on me because it's going to be bad.
Wolfwood shoots him through the side of the head.
What?
And then Wolfwood says there are some people who are too far gone for mercy.
But this doesn't give us any of the vital information.
Even though Vash was getting through to him.
Wait, yeah, that's right. Oh
God. Vash is like 3 seconds away from getting through to him, and Wolfwood shoots him through the side of the head and says he was too far gone for mercy.
Well, sometimes you gotta put a dog down.
This is interesting because there's a similar scene in the original series as well, where Wolfwood shoots someone through the side of the head. Only this happens at the very end of the series, and it is one of the points that leads to the final confrontation between Wolfwood and Vash. One of the gung-ho guns in the original series is a kid named Zaji the Beast. And Zaji the Beast is pointing his guns at Meryl and at Vash, and Wolfwood shoots him, taking him out. And part of the whole chunk of the next episode is Vash and Millie and Meryl trying to figure out what, if anything, they can or should say to Wolfwood. Because on some level, they know he's right. These gung-ho guns have been willing to kill each other, innocent people, Vash's friends, Vash's acquaintances, people that have just seen Vash in passing. They're all fair game. And Wolfwood knew that. So, Wolfwood taking out a gung-ho gun, you really can't fault him that much. It's very human. Like, no, this guy has 2 guns, they're pointed at 2 people that I care about, because Wolfwood cares about Meryl, and he cares about Millie especially, and he cares about Vash. And so he takes action. He takes out Zaji the Beast. Now that scene, happening late in the series, is excellent, because not only is it something that Wolfwood feels bad about, which leads to his whole turnaround of his philosophy and his parting with Chapel the Evergreen, but it's also something that makes a lot of sense for him to do, because they're trying to get through to Zaji, but it's not clear that they are. They're trying, but he hasn't done anything overt to show that he's softening. And Wolfwood's just like, no, I can't take this risk with people that I care about. And that's fair, You point a gun at someone, you really can't be angry if someone else, takes action against you. Instead, it happens in episode 3 with someone who is visibly being gotten through to, and is not actually pointing anything at anyone at that point, I believe. He just shoots him through the side of the head and says some people are too gone for mercy.
Messaging.
Oh, and by the way, even though he shoots him through the side of the head, there's enough time left for Monev the Gale to look at Vash and be sad. And then he dies.
Again. Messaging.
Again. This is Trigun Stampede.
It is so counterintuitive to what the original show was that one feels it was done on purpose.
I know it was done on purpose. They systematically found every important character and plot point of the original, and then systematically violated and killed each point.
There are things...
Every single one.
There are things that I witness or hear about in my life sometimes that prompt my inner voice to, in a perfect impression of Robert Muldoon in the original Jurassic Park movie, to say they should all be destroyed. And this is one of them. This is definitely one of them.
Oh, by the way, what do you think about the music in the original Trigun?
I mean, I have the soundtrack, and even that weird one, that it's not really music so much.
The music in Trigun is amazing. It is atmospheric when it needs to be atmospheric. Yeah. It's funny when it needs to be funny.
It's
happy.
Hang on.
It's sad.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I mean, they had that song that Rem was always singing with Vash.
That's not in this. That's not in Stampede. No.
So the flashback song is gone, and Vash just randomly humming it is gone.
Well, the flashback song was actually more than just a flashback song. The flashback song was a song that helped Vash make a connection between Rem and Meryl.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
his feelings for both of them. Yeah. So there was another major plot point and major character element that is just completely ripped out of Trigun Stampede. It's not there. No, in fact, the music in Trigun Stampede is completely forgettable. I don't remember a single bar of it, except the opening, which I had to listen to 12 times, and the ending, which I skipped every time, but sounded like some random, it reminded me of the ending theme to Nichijou, but in a bad way.
I mean, if you can do the ending theme to Nichijou in a bad way, you've really... I mean, welcome to Original Sin. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
No, you told me that the song that I heard at the end of the first episode is the theme song.
Is the opening theme.
For the show. So, that song is... It doesn't even...
Generic pop crap.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's worthy of, that much grace. It's junk music.
Yeah, it is that.
The original theme to Trigun was like, hey, we care about this show and we want it to have a fun opening theme.
It's not just the opening and ending themes to Trigun, which are both eminently listenable. But the background music throughout the series was always appropriate, and sometimes it could be really, really intense. Like
anytime Legato Blue Summers showed up.
Yeah. Or there's that moment where there's that low synth bass song that plays when Vash is pissed out of his mind, and he's gonna kill Monev the Gale, and he's about to do that, right?
Yeah.
There's that song that plays that low. I can't describe it very well, but there's a song that plays there for just a few seconds, And it's like, oh shit, things are about to get very, very real. Yeah, there's none of that. I don't remember any of the music in Trigun Stampede. It's all completely forgettable. And
I just watched it.
I don't
and
remember
I can't
ever
remember
saying,
any of
"Oh
it.
man, this song playing right here is really perfect for this feeling that you're supposed to have here."
Well, I mean, it's a show completely devoid of feeling. Do you remember in the very first
Yeah.
part with Meryl in that show where they're driving that Jeep and Robert Downer, whatever De Niro was
Robert De Niro, yeah.
he was talking about the dangers of the desert, and while he's talking about it, behind them a huge sandfish thing leaps up into the sky, eats a bunch of birds, and comes crashing down right behind them, and they have no reaction to it whatsoever. That is the perfect scene to describe everything in the show.
Yeah. So let's talk about the sandworms before we finish up.
Oh, that wasn't just a one-off?
The sandworms are the third faction in Trigun Stampede.
I'm done.
Because
I'm done.
Zaji the Beast is no longer a kid with two guns who, controls some sandworms with a flute on his head that you can shoot, and then the flute is broken and the sandworms go away. No. He, or it, is a representative of the sandworms, which are now, actually a big deal, because they are apparently intelligent, and they are the third faction that was on the planet first. Now, they have no reason, considering how little of an effect humanity has had on the surface of the planet. They have the run of the litter for the most part. They are dominant wherever they are. People are terrified of them. People very rarely attack them. Even more rarely actually make some kind of a dent against one of them. And yet, there's this whole arc where Zaji the Beast is watching Vash and Knives and humanity to try to figure out who the worms should side with.
Is this what passes for clever writing? Is they figure if they just have
by
enough...
the way...
Yes?
By the way, the worms have a larval state, which is like a dragonfly. It's like a green dragonfly. Kind of cool looking.
Alright.
Apparently, Wolfwood likes to eat them by biting the heads off of them.
Good man, that.
Because that's a thing that he does in one episode.
And it starts a war, hooray!
No, it's very weird. It doesn't make any sense, like most of the show.
So we can write this one off then. We can just... I don't think that we need to relate this in any way to any kind of hints for writing. I think it's very clear, everything that has been...
No. This is important as a lesson for adaptation. If at the very baseline you don't understand... Okay, look. It is possible to adapt a work and to not understand parts of it. Or it is possible to adapt a work and want to change something in it so that it has a slightly different feel or a different perspective. And these are all perfectly fine things to do in adaptation. However, the one thing that you shouldn't do in adaptation is systematically violate and kill every element of the original. Because if you do that, you're going to end up with a bad story. Which Trigun Stampede is a bad story. It's poorly written. The characters are poorly motivated. The characters are poorly designed. And in such a visual medium, you'd think character design would be a big deal. But they screwed that up too. The music is bad. The world building is terrible. Things don't make sense. And if you want a really good example of how not to do adaptation and world building and character redesign and stuff like that, you can watch the original Trigun, which is a masterpiece. An amazing 26 episodes of animation that it's hard to beat. There are shows that are up there with it. Cowboy Bebop, stuff like that. And then you can watch Trigun Stampede, and you can see how you can systematically destroy something and still end up getting paid for it, apparently. Because all the people who made Trigun Stampede probably got paid. The investors probably didn't, but, I don't even know about that. Maybe enough people, Trigun, the original animated Trigun was 1998. Trigun Stampede was 2023. It's even longer than the 9 or 11 years for Index. This is 25 years. And so most people haven't seen the original Trigun in so long that they forget how good it was. And they're so used to what's being pumped out these days from anime slop factories that they look at this and they say, oh, well, they spent a lot of money on the animation, and some of the characters look kind of cool, I guess. And they're definitely trying to tell some kind of a story that's weird, and I don't really understand it because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But they seem like they did something here, and they think that this is anywhere near on par with, not just the original, but like anything that's any good at all. Like, this is a lesson for writers, and it's a lesson. It's a masterclass that takes you 16 hours. And they say that if you want to get really good at something, you got to do it for 10,000. Well, you can learn 10,000 hours worth of knowledge about how not to screw up an adaptation with just 16 hours of animation watching. Now that's a value.
And by screw up, of course, there is a theory I lean more towards when I view these things and when I see this happen with things that were once great and are taken and turned into mush. In general, I feel like someone gets a hold of the rights to remake something or continue something, either or.
Yeah.
And they never have the intention of having any faith to the original work whatsoever. Their intention is to take everything about it that is
memorable.
Yeah, memorable, and just be like, okay, I actually have a story I wrote that I want to do something with. So I'm just going to superimpose this other franchise on top of it so that I can get interest in it. Because generally these are weak writers, and this is a show that this is weak writing. Let's talk about weak writing for a second. So since we're we're talking about anime anyway here, people have really kind of been talking up for the past couple of years Dragon Ball Super, which is another thing that is it's a really old franchise. I mean, I think the original Dragon Ball, maybe not the show, but the comic runs all the way back to the 70s. And the show was in the 80s, and it's, I mean, the reason Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z had such lasting power and are still talked about to this day is, it's partly because it got such renown, but if you actually watch the show, it may not be the greatest show, but it
has a lot of problems.
Yeah, but it's a show that develops itself quite well over a period of time. I mean, there's little inconsistencies with things here and there, but not any that are so major that they matter.
It's not just inconsistencies. There's pacing problems and all that. There's filler issues.
Well, that's the single biggest
problem. There's a lot of problems with Dragon Ball Z. But
the characters have genuine growth throughout the series.
Yep. They're genuinely interesting and endearing.
Yeah, they tend to have good motivations that are consistent throughout the series, and it was very long lasting. And now we have this the new show, or the show that just recently began a couple years ago, was Dragon Ball Super. And since Akira Toriyama is dead now, he entrusted the writing of this, I guess. This is what I've heard, so I haven't looked any of this information up. From what I heard from the people that watch Dragon Ball Super, that show is written by someone who was entrusted by Akira Toriyama himself with the franchise.
Sure.
It is an immature version of Dragon Ball Z. Now,
which is saying a lot.
Yeah, because it's a kid's show. Or at least...
Dragon Ball was a kid's show. Yeah. Dragon Ball Z was more kind of working into that.
Yeah.
Well, kind of somewhere between shonen and seinen, right? There's more blood, there's more people dying and exploding. Like, it's a little bit mature of a show, which you would expect since, it's trying to draw on the same audience that loved Dragon Ball when they were 6. Right. Now they're going to love Dragon Ball Z when they're 12, right? Something like that.
Yeah, so moving forward...
But it has a lot of immature humor, a lot of fart jokes and stuff like that,
Yeah, and...
It's not a mature show.
It's... When I say mature, I mean, in terms of what Dragon Ball Z was, Dragon Ball Super is the immature version of it.
That's what I mean, yeah. That's my point, is that Dragon Ball Z was not particularly mature by itself, but to call something an even more immature version of that I think maybe the word you're looking for is facile.
That might be a better way to put it, but I feel like it wouldn't get the point across as well. Dragon Ball Super manages to continue to have the fun battle scenes between powerful characters and ever escalating levels of power in these weird contests and battles. But at the same time, it removes a lot of the tension because it keeps making everyone more and more friendly in the show. Frieza was like the ultimate initial villain in Dragon Ball Z, who never really had a change of heart about anything.
Well, even Raditz was a really, he was solidly villain.
Yeah.
Like, Raditz was like, I'm going to kill your son if you don't come with me. Like, whoa. That's not, that's a step up from anything that you saw in Dragon Ball, right? That's a big step up from anything you saw in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, and it was right out of the gate. That was like the first villain.
And it was right out the gate, yeah. Like, hey, I'm going to kidnap and kill your son if you don't come with me and blow up planets for me. Like, oh. I mean, it's a little bit cartoonish, right? Come with me and blow up planets. But like the non-cartoonish part of it is, oh, you have a 4-year-old kid that you love very much, and you're, I'm going to use him as leverage against you. And it is very clear that I'm going to kill him if you don't do what I say. Like whoa,
Yeah, and then they had the next level of villain is more powerful than Raditz, and then the next level villain is more powerful than that. But in Dragon Ball Super, they set this whole thing up where they're going to bring Frieza back, who is like the big mafioso villain of the universe, and they put him in situations where he essentially has to be friends with Goku and Vegeta, who are his eternal enemies at this point. And he's not really their friend in the show. I'm not trying to say that they do the whole villain becomes friend thing, but they don't really have
Which
him...
they did do a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Vegeta is the best example, but but Piccolo and Vegeta are the best examples.
But I mean, if you really look at it through the lens of the older shows where things were a little more serious in both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, where there were legitimate threats, there were things that people had to do because they were worried about them, lives were on the line, and sometimes it seemed like...
Well, Cell was a really big threat, too.
Yeah, yes.
Right?
I mean, Cell was probably he was the single most motivated villain in the entire show. It's like you said before, his motivation was...
And his motivation is a motivation that shows up a lot in fiction and is really not well done. Like, the quest for perfection is something that you see everywhere. And it's always very kind of half-assed. But, I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time, but from my memory of the Cell saga, Cell's, dedication and his motivation toward perfection were really, handled with some pretty, heavy gloves or appropriate metaphor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember him being a little bit you see the Star Trek episode where there's the machine that believes it's perfect, right? And then Kirk says, well, you did this thing and that wasn't perfect, which means you're not perfect. And then the machine commits suicide.
I actually,
right? That's the...
I actually just saw that episode because I just recently, for the first time in my life, sat down and started watching Star Trek. And I gotta say, it's a better show than I thought it would be.
Yeah. But at the same time, that's not a very deep treatment of the quest for perfection character. Cell, on the other hand, takes that very simple and often very half-assed character motivation and really does something with it. You kind of fear Cell. You're like, this guy is, he's dangerous, he's motivated, and he doesn't feel bad at all about the stuff that happens on his quest for what he calls perfection. And, there's actually a very good chance that he will be so good that no one will be able to stop him once he actually achieves that goal. We don't need to spoil too much Dragon Ball Z on this episode, but when I saw that series, when I saw that arc back in the day, I remember thinking, oh, this is pretty well done for the I want to be perfect character, which is usually, no one is perfect, blah, 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 ha, 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 and, then it's...
Right.
Yeah.
So... But the whole point is that someone else is now writing Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you expect it to have a different flavor. For the most part, it seems like it's being faithful to the original, but it is someone else's idea of what the story is, to a lesser extent than what this whole Trigun Stampede thing is. Like, this isn't someone who just acquired the property and said, I'm going to write my story and tell it through the lens of this other person's
I'm going to destroy
creation.
this.
But
this is worse than that. Like, it's too systematic. This is someone who despises Trigun making a series.
Yeah, that is
like it's so much worse. Like, you think it's bad when they make like Ghostbusters 2016 and they like Ghostbusters, but they make a terrible thing by turning it off in this weird direction, right? But with this, it's like someone who despised Trigun was tapped to make the sequel series for Trigun. What? It's that bad.
I mean,
it's that
it
bad.
really is. It's one of the absolute worst adaptations of something that I've ever seen, and I've only seen one episode. They managed to destroy so much in that first episode that I couldn't believe it. I mean, you saw the Discord message I wrote you when I was like, "Hey, let's do this." I was furious.
yeah, of course, and reasonably so. Yeah, no, I really think we should watch the rest of it at some point and
build that inner rage.
And build that inner rage, because it's
like our way of going Super Saiyan.
You get 10,000 hours worth of information about how not to adapt something in 16, and that's value.
Yeah, and this for a long time, the Japanese animation industry was able to avoid things like this, but
or at least minimize the damage.
Yeah, but now we've got Japan doing what America's been doing for the past, or like the entirety of the West has been for the past 15 years or so, taking old things and saying, we're going to, either implying that they're going to try and make them better and not, or doing this exact thing where it's like, no, I'm telling my story and I don't care what the
It's not just I don't care, it's I hate it.
Yeah, well, it's
right. Like
it's not
like we need to be clear that this is worse even than what a lot of things have been done to like Western franchises.
My suspicion, is that it's not.
This is comparable to the reimagining of like Snow White that we got in the live action version. I hate Snow White. I'm going to make something that destroys everything that it was.
Well, I think that there's a little room to say that what might be going on is a little more like this. Someone who is not good enough to be successful without...
No, not with this. I've seen the whole show. I can tell you.
No, you're missing my point. You're missing my point. Because I haven't gotten there yet. The point is that there is this envy that comes along with being given the project, where you know that you could not have written that story. You have your story, and it's not as good. So you're going to force your story, or rather, you're going to force the soul of the original onto your story, and then desecrate it because of the envy that you have for the original work.
But like,
the hatred stems from that. This is people who would not have been able to do as good a job, saying, well, now I have the opportunity to use something that's already successful. That's
definitely true. Right? But at the same time, like, I've seen enough of these things where it's just, hey, I got this thing and I'm going to, the Star Wars sequel trilogy is that, right? I'm J.J. Abrams. I got handed Star Wars. I'm going to do something that I like, with a lot of member berries, but a lot of my own changes and no real care for consistency.
Yeah.
Whereas Trigun Stampede is so systematic in what it does to every element, even the basic ones, even the I didn't make these guns for this, they're practically meaningless otherwise. 2 lines, they systematically excised it, turned it around, made it worse, and put it back in. It's like, we're going to have to watch the whole series for you to understand the depths of depravity that the makers of Trigun Stampede have committed against the original series. Because it's not Star Trek Discovery. It's not even Star Trek The Lower Decks. It's like Ted Bundy got his hands on Trigun and and systematically violated and killed every element of it.
So it's like the last 2 seasons of Doctor Who.
That's probably a close approximation.
And yet,
those people,
one episode.
those people hated what Doctor Who was.
Well, one episode into
yeah.
into Trigun Stampede, and I feel like if I watch the whole thing, that's going to be even worse than what happened to Doctor Who. But it's a tough call, because it sounds like at least they were still putting a show out there that was meant to be watched. I actually don't think that anyone was meant to see what came out of Doctor Who. So maybe I'm pushing it a bit too far.
That's possible. That's possible. I mean, it might be worth finding out. But if you're listening to this, all I can say is that the original Trigun, the animated series, is a masterpiece. And Trigun Stampede is one of the most egregious... It is the most egregious destruction of any media franchise that I've ever seen. And I'm speaking from my own limited experience, but again, it's the worst. It's the worst thing I've ever seen done to an existing media franchise.
Well, okay, so now we have at least a mystery to solve. Is it a worse destruction than Doctor Who? That's what I want to know. So right. I guess we will watch it. I guess we will sit through and
maybe we will
and suffer through it.
And then you can half blind me on how bad Doctor Who was.
No, I think I want to be done with that entirely. That's how bad it is. I don't ever want to revisit it.
Fair enough. Well,
Love and Peace?
Trigun Stampede. Terrible show. Love and Peace. Geranium means determination. And the guns are practically meaningless if they're not used against each other.
I feel it.
Music, character, Meryl and Millie.
Well, Meryl.
So, this is the thing. At the end of the 12th episode of Trigun Stampede, right when Meryl has turned into
No.
into what's her name?
Do not want
Terminator 2, Linda Hamilton. She finds out that not only is she probably going to get demoted from journalist to insurance agent, but also that there's this newbie who really wants to work with her named Millie.
That really wants to work with her?
Yeah.
So in Trigun Stampede, the meeting of Millie and Meryl is just, there's some crazy broad that works here that's like, that Meryl person, I want to work with her. Can I work with her? Like, that's how they meet.
Who, by the way, is not famous in any way. She's never done anything other than, I guess, write one story about Vash and Stampede that nobody believed, because Vash still got the $60 billion double dollar. Like, if she wrote a story about how Vash saved the world, then nobody believed it, because he still gets the bounty on his head. So, that's what happens. And then we find out that Earth is the bad guy now.
Earth?
Because, Earth.
I'm going to guess there's not a character named Earth.
Because at the very end, after the final credits, you get a scene...
right.
I mentioned this, but you get a scene where you're looking over what looks like the surface of the moon, and in fact, it is the surface of the moon. And it crests the surface of the moon, and there over the arc of the horizon, you see the Earth, and the Earth is all brown and red, because it's been destroyed by humanity, you see, and humanity never tried to redeem itself. And then you hear a transmission's like, we've just figured out how our warp drives work, and also we've just gotten a transmission that says that there's someone doing plant stuff over on this other planet. We're going to go take that, or something like that. It's that dumb.
The show does not need a second season.
No, it does not. Wait. Oh, no, you know what else? There's one other thing that I want to mention. Okay, name idiotic villain trait that... I don't know how to phrase this. There's an idiotic villain trait that a lot of villains get that is stupid and should be thrown away by all writers, unless it is actually somehow connected to the plot.
Putting off killing the hero to explain the plot.
Playing piano.
Oh, God. I legitimately had no idea what was going on there.
Because Knives plays the piano.
Yes, in the first
episode. At the very end, Vash doesn't remember how to play the piano, and then you hear Lena's voice calling him Eric's. And then that's the end of that scene at the very end of the series. Because it's member berries all the way down. And we're going to violate every single one of them. Because the way that you want to think of the character that Vash plays for an episode in the original series, Eric's, who is Vash when he decides he's going to give up and just try to live a peaceful life, is that what he does in his spare time is he goes to this giant piano and hits one key randomly over and over again, trying to remember the song that his archenemy, Knives, used to play as his villain trait. Because that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's close this episode down.
Particularly long episode.
I'm probably gonna break this into 2 or 3, honestly. So if you're hearing this and you're just listening to the final episode, you have finally reached the end of our breakdown of Trigun Stampede.
I had a lot of hate to pour into this.
I'm sorry that we had to spoil so much of Trigun for
I'm not.
you, but
You didn't.
it needed to be done.
It's better to.
I'm going to put a warning in at the beginning I'll probably put a warning in at the beginning to be like, hey, we're going to spoil all of Trigun. So if you haven't seen Trigun, you may want to go see that first. And we're also going to spoil Trigun Stampede, but that's not a loss for anybody. So,
in fact, it's a net negative on you just having to hear about it.
Pretty much,
well,
yes.
no, we can consider it a warning.
It's a warning, yeah.
Here be dragons.
It's 18 seconds of audio repeated that just repeats. What is it? An SOS? It could be a warning.
It's just here be dragons, but not even cool ones.
I was making an alien reference.
I know you were making an alien reference, but I mean, it's just that's kind of the point. It's just like there's danger here, and it's not even danger that's worth exploring.
Right. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend, and we will see you next time. As always, I am Rudy.
And I am just infuriated from having to watch that. Oh my god, it hurts.
It hurts so much.
Thanks for listening to the Wordy Pair Podcast. Our passion is all things writing, world building, and getting into the weird and wonderful world of fiction. We hope you enjoyed our unique takes. If you did, make sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to get your weekly dose of writing weirdness. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter. For Rudy, it's @Rudolph_Cone. And for Justin, @Ninja Mouse Chew. See you next time on the Wordy Pair Podcast.